There are stories that do not arrive with fanfare. They do not appear in shouted headlines or official statements filled with staged photos. They begin almost silently, circulating among well-informed journalists and attentive observers of the market. In recent days, this kind of feeling has once again been hovering around Newcastle United, creating an atmosphere of curiosity among supporters who know how to recognize when something is being prepared away from the spotlight. When this environment appears, the more experienced fan understands that it is no coincidence. Small signs begin to line up, names start to be mentioned more frequently, and analysis takes on a different tone. Nothing is said directly, yet everything seems to point towards a strategic movement. It is exactly at moments like these that following the club's day-to-day becomes essential, because the most important decisions are rarely born under the floodlights. Newcastle are going through a period in which every detail of planning matters. The squad has undergone transformations in recent years, but there are still areas that require quiet and precise attention. It is not simply about signing stars, but about building depth, balance, and solutions for an increasingly demanding calendar. And it is within this context that certain pieces of information begin to carry special weight behind the scenes. In the corridors of European football, there is a growing consensus that smart reinforcements are those who arrive before becoming a public obsession. Young players, with room to grow, capable of adapting quickly to the rhythm of the Premier League. Newcastle have been following this path, and those who track the club closely can see that this philosophy is more alive than ever as the next window approaches. According to journalist Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, Newcastle United are closely monitoring the situation of Joaquin Sais, a left-back at Club Brugge. His name does not yet dominate popular debate, but internally he is seen as an extremely interesting option to strengthen a specific area of the squad and offer solutions that are currently limited. Newcastle's need becomes clear when analysed calmly. Lewis Hall has been an important piece, but the squad lacks depth at left-back. The idea is not merely to have an occasional substitute, but someone capable of competing for minutes, maintaining standards when called upon, and even pushing the starter. This is exactly the type of profile the board have been looking for. Joaquin Sais, at just 20 years old, has already accumulated more than 100 appearances for Club Brugge's first team, a striking figure for someone so young. This season he has played 33 matches, scored 4 goals and provided 4 assists, showing that he is not just a defender confined to his flank, but a player who actively contributes to attacking phases. This consistent performance earned Sais his first 2 call-ups to the senior Belgium national team, an important step in any young player's career. This detail does not go unnoticed at Newcastle, who value players accustomed to dealing with pressure in competitive environments. If you enjoy following in-depth analysis like this, subscribing to the channel helps ensure you do not miss any key movement. From a statistical point of view, the numbers reinforce the positive impression. Sais has won around 52% of his aerial duels and 70% of his ground duels in the league. Solid figures for a modern fullback. He shows a balance between physical intensity and game intelligence, something essential to surviving the relentless pace of the Premier League. Another factor that is particularly appealing is his versatility. In addition to operating at left-back, Sais can also play on the right, offering tactical flexibility to a defensive line that, at various points this season, has suffered from injuries and makeshift solutions. Having a player capable of covering more than one role becomes a valuable asset over a long campaign. Internally, the club see the young Belgian as a player aligned with their recruitment model. Youth, athletic ability, and development potential are pillars that have guided recent signings, and Sais fits these criteria perfectly. He is described as a modern fullback, with the energy to support attacks and the discipline to fulfill his defensive duties. The attacking data shows comfort in the final third, while success in duels indicates that he is far from fragile without the ball. This combination is especially valued by Newcastle, who are looking for fullbacks capable of sustaining intensity for the full 90 minutes. If this kind of analysis resonates with you, it is worth subscribing and following every update closely. More than numbers, there is the reading of context. Newcastle need to refresh parts of the squad that are beginning to show signs of stagnation. Bringing in players with hunger, ambition, and room to grow is seen as essential to keeping the club competitive both now and in the future. Sais represents exactly that kind of calculated gamble. It is important to stress that, for now, this is a monitored interest rather than a completed deal. The information, according to Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, points to close observation and detailed analysis of the player's profile. These processes often develop discreetly, especially when they involve young talents still outside the mainstream radar. Newcastle supporters have learned that many of the club's best recent signings began in this way, quietly. Before names hit the headlines, there were weeks of study, reports, and internal discussions. That is the stage this story is currently at, and following each step can make all the difference in understanding the club's future. Should this interest progress, Newcastle would add not only depth, but also flexibility and resale potential to the squad. In an increasingly inflated market, smart moves like this can define the success of an entire season. That is why staying alert and subscribed to the channel helps you stay one step ahead. In the end, Joaquin's size symbolizes the type of reinforcement that speaks directly to Newcastle United's sporting project. Young, already tested at a high level, with consistent numbers and room to improve. Now it remains to follow the next chapters and see whether this quiet name from the background turns into reality at St. James Park.